Good afternoon, dear participants. We have come to the last and final session of the day. This session will be handled by Dr. Unnikrishnan N. on the topic Geotechnical Failures and Lessons to be Learned. Dr. Unnikrishnan is a professor and head of the department at Civil Engineering Department, College of Engineering, Trivandrum, Kerala. He is an individual with vast academic experience in the field of geotechnical engineering. Without further delay, I invite Dr. Unnikrishnan to handle this session. Thank you.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you. So I'll be talking about failures and lessons learned. We try to explore. If we are successful always, we keep on thinking that we will always be right. And our failures teach us lessons so that these failures won't repeat. In fact, the entire engineering expertise the world has built up is based on the exploration of the unknown, exploration of the failures and lessons learned from the failure. I'll be briefly discussing about some of the well-established failures. Some of them are available in the literature. Some of them are available as popular science articles, and some of them probably available. I have come across some of these failures. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
And are the slides changing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the geotechnical engineering is a branch of study which is more or like like disciple succession. Okay, you have a great guru and then there are disciples. It is like that. You might have heard about great gurus like Tyagaraja Swami, and then his disciples, and then his disciples, and that's a Shishya Parampara. So similarly, we have a great guru called Tresagi, who was a mechanical engineer who is considered to be the father of soil mechanics, and his long-term associate, Peck, Ralph B. Peck. He lived till recently, till 2008, and this is a photograph close to his last days. So they rewrote the way people started thinking about geotechnical engineering. These are my immediate gurus, my professors, PhD supervisors, Professor Rajagopal and Professor Krishnaswamy. So there is a way geotechnical engineering flourishes. The problem with geotechnical engineering is a problem made by man. Of course, often we make the problem and then we try to find a solution for that. What is the problem we are making? We build taller and taller structures, such skyscrapers. There is a usage in Malayalam, aham aham nikathiya. Let me be first, let me be first, let me be first. Okay, this is the way in which people think. And this is a presentation. In fact, I had included 20 such buildings, starting from CS Tower, Empire State Building. As a student, I learned that Empire State Building is the tallest building, whereas my sister, elder sister, wrote the same examination. At that point, it was CS Tower. And then the different towers came up. You have Petronas Tower, which figured in one of the James Bond movies. Then you have Taipei 101. Several buildings in China. In China, there are several buildings which were tallest at some point of time. And currently, Dubai is the country which is housing the tallest building in the world, and the building is almost at 829.8 meters. I can see so many skyscrapers here. So where are all these loads going? Loads are all going into the ground. When you build such a tall structure, the loads are so concentrated. So the Mother Earth has to sustain all these loads. You can see all these are made of geomaterials. All these structures that you are seeing here, they are all made of geostructures. Okay, everything obtained geomaterials. Everything obtained from the earth only. Material like cement is obtained from the earth, aggregates are obtained from the earth, everything is obtained from the earth. Okay, and you bring materials from different places and then make a heap of it. That is a structure, transferring so much of load to the soil to which it was not subjected to before. The soil below the foundation of this particular tower that was not subjected to any such heavy load before. So it is unknown. It's an unknown territory. Even the soil doesn't know how it is going to behave under such a load. In fact, I tell my students that soil has memory. Soil remembers its stress history, at least in the case of clay. You can find out the maximum overburden pressure to which the soil was subjected to in the historical past, because the soil remembers it. So soil is like a living being, by memory, like you and me. So the entire load is going into soil. So is the soil capable of taking all these things? And what happens if soil fails? What happens if one portion fails? What happens if one portion fails? The fate of Tower of Pisa will happen to your structure. Okay, say 100 people are holding a long pole vertically. Okay, 50 people on one side and 50 people on the other side. Suppose the people who are on one side alone, they give up. Definitely that pole is going to fall off. Okay, others cannot hold it. So load cannot be eccentric also. Just to be uniform. And all who are supporting, all soil grains or rock supporting should behave equally. Okay, otherwise, even if a small difference in settlement happens, the tall structure will manifest rotation, which can easily be visible from a distance, and that will lead to eccentric loads, moments, and things like that, which the building is not designed for. So that cannot happen. Okay. These are some other structures, heavy structures, bridges, cable stayed bridges. You can see the central pillar that is being subjected to a lot of vertical load. You have complex flyovers these days, and structures like these suspended bridges. So heavy loads. See, these are lot of loads are in different directions because of this cable and pulleys and other things. Loads are in different directions. You just cannot allow even creep settlement. So the entire load is going to the foundation. This is an arch dam. And this is a thin structure which saves so much of natural resources. So much of natural resources can be saved using an arch dam because concrete ticket is much less. But the loads will have to be negotiated by a very strong abutment. So who is going to handle all these things? Who is going to design these foundations? Who is going to design these supports? It is a geotechnical engineer, because only he learns about the behavior of soil and rocks. This is one failure. Landslide. Nowadays, we are very much familiar with landslides. The state of Kerala is receiving a lot of rain, much more than what it used to receive in the past. I still remember in my childhood days, many people of my age will be remembering that. During my childhood days, rain was always associated with the opening of schools. If the school is opening on June 1st, then on the previous day, you may be having a very sunny weather. On the day when you open to school, you have heavy showers. I have experienced that for several years. If it is on June 2nd, I'm sure that many people might notice that the rain starts on June 2nd. So like that. Then to my shock, after I was around 15 or so, either rain, we had very long dry spells extending into the month of June. So that was the beginning. Now I find that rain is very common every time. There is nothing like season. Every time it's raining, and the rain that we used to receive in, say, 1 month, probably we are getting in 1 week. So much of shower, so much of runoff, and that results in flooding. The soil is unable to, slopes are unable to sustain by themselves, and under self-weight they slip, and that results in landslips. So what do we learn from this landslips? There's another view of the same landslip. You can see that there is some vegetation also begin, but still this happened. And this is another view where a failure has happened. And here you can see there was a marked change in the land use pattern. Seeing the terrain, we can be somewhat sure that the entire terrain might have been filled with vegetation, trees. Probably the trees were cut, and you can see gullies formed because of erosion. And part of the land is being converted into agricultural land, and that is in process. And while that was happening, so much of erosion has happened because of the formation of gullies can be seen here. So because of human intervention, the land use pattern has changed. Deforestation has taken place, and you can see an entire village and the foothill that was wiped off. Who has created this? Human beings, you and me. And so what is that lesson to be learned? Intervene minimum with the nature. Intervene minimum with the nature to the extent possible. Live with the nature, because everything we are obtaining from nature for our life, whether it is food or cloth or whatever it is, or even the geomaterials for construction, everything we are getting from the nature. And the nature is very kind to us. So let us not be cruel to the nature. And this is another failure. It has happened in Taiwan, in Express Highway. You can see a 6-lane express highway. There's a crossing bridge. There's a crossing bridge here, and you can see a triangular portion here, which indicates some kind of human intervention. That is a marked difference between the vegetation in this triangular portion and the remaining portion, which indicates that some kind of engineering has gone into this. Okay, and you can see some roads also in that slope, whirling roads. So that road is going up, and there are some factories and others. Please notice these features, because we are going to see some other photographs also where some of these features can be identified. Okay. So this is in Taiwan Express Highway, and this image was taken in 2010. And here you can see another view from Google Street View. So you can see that bridge which crossed the highways, and in fact that is 8-lane, it seems, not 6-lane. Okay, you can see see one of the roads, and one fine day you can still see those triangular portion, and also those 3 red factory buildings on the right bottom corner. And one fine morning, the entire soil here came down and covered the highway. Okay, so they had to intervene on war footing. So that some vegetation can be noticed here, some vegetation can be noticed here. Let us see from where this vegetation has come. So you can see another view. So the entire soil cover on the triangular portion that has come down. Entire soil cover that was on the triangular portion came down. Another view, the trees as well as vegetation. You can see in the roads. I showed you some roads in the triangular portion. When the roads came down as such, probably somebody will be able to still drive through these roads. So you can also see the debris collection and the thickness of the field that has come out. And other things, the bridge also got damaged. Another view. So what happened here? What happened here? What was that? I told you some engineering also went into those that slope. The triangular portion was a bit different from the remaining portion. In fact, some kind of cable, the orbit and which had a potential to slip was kept stitched to the underlying soil or hard rock by way of some kind of cabling and some fascia elements. I do have that photographs, but unfortunately not in this presentation. So using some fascia elements and cables, it was stitched to the base soil or hard rock, whatever is available. And as I told you, those were using cables, and one of the cable got disconnected probably because of corrosion or connection failure, and then the remaining cables are to negotiate that load which was shared by this failed cable, so that increase there. So these are the days when we go for frugal engineering, where we design for the minimum requirement, and that being the case, the remaining cables under stress could not sustain the load because one of them had failed, so one more failed. So two of them failed, and the remaining had to distribute the load among others, and ultimately they all failed. Okay. And this is another failure, Laos Dam failure in 2018. So here you can see Laos is a country which depends a lot on the hydroelectric power project for their economy. They export electricity, and their income is basically from hydroelectric projects. So they have a number of hydroelectric projects, and they generate so much of electricity and sell it. And since there is so much of money involved, probably the quality of construction also came down, and there was a foundation failure for the Laos failure and dam. And this is the explanation which I obtained from those the media. The Sadil Dam, part of a hydroelectric dam system under construction in southeast Laos, Champasak province, collapsed on 23rd July 2018, leading to widespread destruction and homelessness among the local population in neighboring Attapur province. As of 28th July 2018, 27 people were confirmed dead. At least 130 more were missing, and 6,600 others were displaced. So this is because of the dam failure. So this was basically a hydraulic failure coupled with foundation failure. Earth dam is a very tricky design. If you are not careful, even rodents can cause failures. Okay, even when your garden mice, they can create tunnels within the body of the dam, and that will lead to failure. So one should be very cautious. Construction has to be proper. We have an earth dam in Kerala at Theriyodu, constructed by Kerala State Electricity Board. We could easily construct the arch dam, but it was very difficult for us to construct the earth dam because you should get the right soil, and you should create the right impervious core and design it properly and monitor it properly. And it took a lot of time. Of course, they did it. Another failure is a well-known failure documented in literature. That is Nicole Highway failure. Nicole Highway failure that happened in Singapore years back. You can see a construction of a highway was happening here. On the left side, you can see the situation before failure, And on the right side, you can see a situation after failure. And on the left side, you can see struts. You can see a cut and cover section. A tunnel, a vertical cut was made and a support on diaphragm walls, and struts kept for cancelling the stresses each other. So you can see the struts also here. And this was for constructing a metro railway, which is an underground construction. And this was going on. Somebody from the nearby apartment, he was clicking photographs on that particular day. And suddenly a failure has happened. You can see a shaft for access material as well as labor access, and you can see a slide has happened. A portion of the diaphragm wall has collapsed, and soil has caved in. The road geometry has changed. Some cracks have developed here, and there might have been some catastrophic failure inside also. And several equipment are working here. Most of them might have gone inside the failed portion. And this is a close-up view before failure. So somebody was clicking the photographs, and suddenly at 3:33 p.m. he saw some fire, and he heard some noise. So he went on clicking at 3:33 p.m. Suddenly there was smoke and light. You can see some of the construction equipment that has gone inside the failed portion. Another view very close to the TSA tunnel, TSA shaft. You can see some of the equipment are already inside the sunken portion. 3:35 p.m. Traffic is stalled now. 3:38 p.m. So we can see the damage that has happened for the road and the mayhem that has resulted from it. 3:41 p.m. So there is some different views. Okay, probably it is still sinking. You can see another view, another view. Yet another view. This construction equipment was saved. So what happened? They were attempting a 36-meter deep excavation by cut and cover, supported by diaphragm wall, without socketing into deep stiff material. So we try to avoid, try to minimize the material to the extent possible by designing it for just required levels. 36-meter deep excavation by cut and cover, supported by diaphragm wall, without socketed deep into stiff materials, and 10 levels of struts. Soft marine clay extends to 50-meter deep and is still consolidating despite land reclaimed about 50 years ago. Ground improvement of soft clay and excavation around the excavation by jet grouting. To strengthen the soft clay, they are resorted to jet grouting. So this was happening. So this is a sequence of operation. Install diaphragm walls, then king posts, then in excavation and installation of jet grout. Then board piles are installed for supporting the proposed tunnels. Struts are installed, and then excavation is carried out. And then tunnels are placed. And then the entire struts are removed, and the excavation is filled back. So it's a cut and cover section. You do the excavation, install the side supports. As the excavation proceeds, it is top down, bottom of construction, and then place these tunnels and then cover it with the soil. So this will look as if there are, as we know, other construction in that region. So suddenly at 3:30 p.m. in 2004, while the excavation was at 33-meter depth with 9 levels of strut installed, the failure happened. So there are 10 levels of struts only. They went up to 9 levels, and then suddenly the failure happened. the ninth strut failed and the whole retaining wall system collapsed. So what could be wrong? What could be wrong? So a lot of analysis. It is not like India. In Singapore, they have to fix the accountability. In India, we can get away with all these things. But when it is in another country, then they will fix the accountability. So what went wrong? Where was it a geotechnical failure or a structural failure? They went on investigating. They found that the strut collapsed because of because the joint design did not take care of all the forces. The struts were designed. Strut as such was okay, but the connections using welded joints, that was not sufficient. Probably that welding was not done properly or was not tested properly, and that resulted in failure of one strut. As I have told you, 100 people are holding a pole. One person stops holding, then the others have to distribute the load among themselves. And if another person cannot do that, then he will also leave. Then the remaining people will have to hold the load, and their stress, individual stress, is also increasing. So what happens? The entire structure may suddenly collapse. The same thing happened here. So one strut failed. The design was already inadequate. Then the next strut was subjected to a higher load. That also failed. And then the next one. So these failures, they continue to take place. And finally, the whole structure failed without giving much notice. So it was a sudden catastrophic failure without giving much warning. You may be remembering, this failure may be still fresh in your minds. This is Kalur building collapse. A famous textile house was constructing a building. They were excavating up to 10.5 meters also. They were planning to provide 3 basement floors. It is at Kalur. So Kalur is a thickly populated area in Cochin city. They wanted to utilize maximum space below their built-up space for accommodating vehicles for parking purpose. And for that purpose, they decided to go in for 3 levels of basement, which required excavation up to around 10.5 meters or so. And they had approached some consultant, and they had designed an excavation support system, which was contiguous pile walls, as you read from the photographs which I am going to show you. And with this contiguous pile walls, it is possible for them to support, but something went wrong in the design, and this was what happened. The corporation had given permission for the construction of 3 underground floors. Excavations for more than 15 meter depth was underway. In fact, 3 levels of basements, they require a clearance of 10.5 meters for some other purpose or for placing foundation. They wanted more than 15 meters. Some of this parking space, they prefer 2-level parking using a scissor lift. That also is done in some places. So you can see there is a building tall. There is a tall building, not very tall, but sufficiently tall building here. And the excavation is carried out very close to the foundation of that particular building. Okay, and you can see a massive slide has taken place in the front portion, and you can also see the metro line going parallel to the front portion of the site. So this is an L-shaped plot. You can see a major failure happening here. So this I have copied from the newspapers, the media. You can read also. The failure had happened at around 10:30 p.m. in night. They say the building has collapsed. Actually, building was not there. Only they are performing an excavation. They are going deeper and deeper to the required depth. It is close to metro line and the metro station also. But there was the excavation support system in the form of contiguous pile walls. കെട്ടിടം പണിക്ക് എത്തിച്ച മണ്ണുമാന്തി യന്ത്രങ്ങളിൽ 5 മണ്ണിൽ പൊതിഞ്ഞു പോയത് കാണാം. റെയിനും തകർന്നു കിടപ്പുണ്ട്. In the previous failure also you have seen construction machinery getting swallowed by these failures. Cracks also developed in the road, quite natural. And this is a close-up view. You can see some struts and all. just as in the case of the Singapore failure, you can see some struts, but these struts are very small. I wonder whether this is properly designed or not, whether they are sufficient or not. But you can see contiguous pile walls on the edges. In the front portion, this is a photograph from the front side. In the front portion, you can see the contiguous pile wall was shifted far inside to the property. So the force of the nature is very high. The entire soil and the whole pile foundation, which were installed close to that, close to each other, that got moved forward, and the failure has happened. Another view, you can also see the metro coaches. The failure went up to the road. The width of the road is now limited. Ernakulam is also laying is under heavy traffic pressure, but at the same time, this has happened. And you can see this brown building. The foundation of that brown building is exposed. Another view, here again you can see the metro coaches. You can see the front portion where failure has taken place. The brown building, reddish brown building. Again from the front view. These are the trusses collapsed partially. So what happened? A lot of forensic investigation went into that, and this is what happened. You can read it also. കല്ലൂരിൽ നിർമ്മാണത്തിൽ ഇരുന്ന് കെട്ടിടത്തിന്റെ പൈലുകൾ ഇടിഞ്ഞുണ്ടായ അപകടത്തിൽ കളക്ടർ നിയോഗിച്ച വിദഗ്ധ സമിതി അന്വേഷണ റിപ്പോർട്ട് സമർപ്പിച്ചു. പ്രധാനമായും തകർന്ന റോഡ് ഗതാഗത യോഗ്യമാക്കുന്നത് സംബന്ധിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള 7 നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങളാണ് സമിതി നൽകിയത്. So they did not address why this happened. Our interest is in that. Why this has happened and what are the lessons to be learned. But they were very clever. They did not want to accuse anybody. So they decided to explore how the road can be made trafficable at the earliest. And they have taken 7 directions from different people. So ultimately, a geotechnical analysis is missing. Probably a solution they have found out, that is by repairing the road. So everybody will be happy. But the company has to bear the cost and ensure the safety of the adjacent buildings. How is that done? I do not know. How can the safety can be ensured after undermining the safety of adjacent buildings? How that can be done is something which people should think about. So they have decided that the pit so exposed shall be filled with soil up to a depth of 5 meters in the location. That's a good idea. Reducing the depth of excavation, but when you place loose dump earth and the kind of soil that is available in Cochin, that is mostly clay, they might have sold it to some clay factory or some tile making unit. So that particular soil may not be available. They have to import soil now. Anyway, they are filling up to 5 meters below the ground surface. So they are dumping red earth. You can see lateritic soil they are dumping. So that is one of the solutions suggested by them, and the road is being attempted to make it trafficable. So red earth probably well graded at this place and probably compacted. Another article in the newspaper on 24th April 2018. The coconut piling and the removal of clay from the area has been completed by Monday evening. So there was some base strengthening using coconut pile. Whereas in Singapore it was jet grouting, here they use coconut piling. And the work to strengthen the road by filling GSB is going on. Now they are attempting repair of the road. After this, the road will be handed over to the Kerala Water Authority, probably for another spell of handling. I want to say more than that. Yeah, that is for laying water pipes. So they will repair everything fabulously well and then hand over to Kerala Water Authority for laying the water pipes. Let us hope that they won't again excavate. and they expected the whole process to be completed by a particular deadline, and the road was open for movement. It's another failure. This is another failure. So what went wrong in that, and what are the lessons to be learned in that Kalur failure? In that Kalur failure, was it the problem with the struts? The struts look very minimal and not sufficient. But that is not the only problem. Was the contiguous pile wall designed properly? Probably the contiguous pile wall is a construction that is going below the ground surface, and many people think that whatever money that you spend below the ground surface is not visible on the ground surface in the form of structures, whereas a structure on the ground surface that is visible, and even if the investor comes and he sees the structure standing there, and he will feel so satisfied and proud. Whereas for the foundation, the work is happening below the ground level, and you never know how much concrete you are pumping into the soil. So that is not visible. There's a saying there are two aspects. One is drishyardham and the other is adrishyardham. Drishyardham is something that is related to astrology. And drishyardham is a place which we have already seen, and then we have the remaining portion which we have not seen and is going to happen. So it is like that. That half is below the ground surface. So a contractor cannot convince owner, see the structure that I have constructed, that cannot be seen because that is below the ground surface. But the importance of that should be realized. And this is another failure, soil nail wall failure at Appalam, very close to the Toronto. You can see soil nail wall being constructed, a portion which has not failed and the other portion which has failed. And if you look at the portion which has failed, the mistake that they are doing, you can see here. So they are installed from the top. They go for a top to bottom construction. And what happened is that the bottom is now exposed. And though they have provided drainage facilities and other things, there will be some increase in pore water pressure because they are holding the soil particles, and probably some water is also being held. And that being the case, the rise of pore water pressure reduces the effective stress that, coupled with the loss of strength of laterite over years due to drainage flow of groundwater, that results in weakening of this laterite slope and failure. Remember, this is an in situ slope, not a imported fill. Whatever you see is an in situ fill, which is being stabilized using soil nails. So you can also see some soil nails pulled out. And you can also see some spaces here. Spaces, front fascia plate, and the nail inserted here, and also the nut and bolt which connects the nail to the front fascia. So this failure has taken place. So here again you can see a nail. These are the axiom nails with spaces. PVC spaces, they are used to avoid contact between the reinforcement and the surrounding environment. You can also see the face plate and the bolt which is attached, nut and bolt which is attached to the front fascia for tightening the nail. Another view of the collected failed nails. What went wrong in that site? Do you notice anything? I do notice something. If you look at the color of the soil, it is mostly grayish, light grayish. What does it indicate? A strong representation of kyanite clay, silt and kyanite clay, and that's the reason why it is whitish. Ideally, the laterite soil should have a reddish brown color, which is not seen here. Let us see in the previous slide what that is around. Okay, you can see here. Even the top of the vertical cut, you can see white soil, which is nothing but your kyanite clay, mostly kyanite clay or silt or pine sand, not more than that. So this particular soil, theoretically, according to BS 8006, the fine content should be 15% or less for being used for the reinforced soil structures. In this particular case, you are not using an you were not using an imported soil fill, but we are using what do you call the in situ soil that is being strengthened. Now you can see here the white patches are seen everywhere, even at the top, which means that there's a considerable proportion of clay soil finds within the slope, and that prevents the application of this particular technique in solving the problem of soil nail failing. Another failure which I recall and from which I learned a lot of lessons is the pile lotus failure in Menankulam. Those were the airless days of my career. A leading builder, even now he is very active builder, very well-known house, Bangalore-based construction house. At that point of time, they were very quality conscious and they wanted us, the College of Engineering, wanted to perform geotechnical investigation for their structure. And we went there and performed it. Happily, we came back. And based on the results, we suggested some foundation, which is a pile foundation, and that pile foundation extended up to 27 meters. Now there is a peculiar feature which I can explain here in Menankulam region. In this particular site, the sand was mostly medium and coarse, medium and fine fraction, up to a depth of 17 meters from the ground surface to 17 meters below the ground surface. It was sand itself not well graded, fine and medium sand only. Now I'm recalling those things. That is years back. Now from 17 up to 17 meters, the density of sand, relative density of sand was less, and from 17 meters to 33 meters, density increases. Your penetration distance is more than 100, and the surface came at 33 meters. Ideally, we expect that condition to continue at 33 meters. At 33 meters, we encountered a layer of clay, white clay. That is mostly kaolin in Trivandrum. There are areas where kaolin mining is taking place. This is white clay. N-value is greater than 100. And then we conducted some standard penetrations within that clay layer, clay or silt layer, and it extended up to 42 meter. 42 meter, it is extending from 33 meter to 42 meter for 9 meters. This particular layer of clay is extending. So, and below that, I'm getting dense sand which is well graded. Greater than 100 value. N value is greater than 100. So, there is a clay layer from 33 meter onwards to 42 meter. Now I have two options. Since the sand is dense from 17 to 33 meter, I can terminate the pile at 17 at around 25 meter, 27 meter, so that I'll still have a sand cushion of another 8 or 9 meters, and then support the building on that. That is okay for a single pile. But when there are number of piles, a number of loads are transmitted at the same level, and these stressed zones overlap. So the entire clay layer is going to be loaded heavily. So what to do? Whether it is safe to place the foundation above the clay layer, or should we go beyond the clay layer? If I decide to go beyond the clay layer, that is another 10 to 15 meters of piling. Without appreciable increase in the bearing capacity, but there will be appreciable benefit as far as settlement is concerned, because you are bypassing the clay layer. So we were thinking about this, and I finally decided that the foundation may extend only up to 27 meters, so that there is a cushion of 5 meters below the pile tip, which will take care of the load distribution and other things. Of course, I did not perform numerical analysis. What made me to take such a bold decision is the simple Atterberg limits test and water content moisture content test, which were performed in the laboratory, nothing more than that. I did not conduct a UCC test, water content as well as liquid limit and plastic limit, and I found out that the water content is close to plastic limit, which means that soil is normally sufficiently consolidated. Consolidation test was not performed as time was not available. So based on that result, we decided to support the building at 27 meter and then perform a pile load test, which is mandatory. So pile load test was convened and they started constructing. So I did not go to the site, though it was close near the college. I did not go to the site, and they were pumping, placing load. At around 90 tons, the pile slipped. It was a 70 centimeter pile, diameter pile. I still remember that. At around 90 tons, the pile slipped and it started moving downwards. So I received calls from the site. In fact, one of my classmates was the project engineer. She was sitting in Ernakulam, and they had given the work to College of Engineering in Toronto, expressing so much of faith. So at 90 kilonewtons, the failure starts, and the pile slides, and it is continuing. So what to do? Like the piling contractor, he looks at me. Those are my early days as a consultant, and as if I'm a kid. He's looking at me. I went to the site. I was also nervous what to do. So he was asking with a kind of smile on his face, "Shall we stop the test?" As if he is telling me, "Hey man, your entire design has gone wrong. Something is wrong here. Let us abandon this pile and let us bring somebody else." Or something like that. He may be thinking. Of course, they are only laborers. No, I was also thinking. I called my professor, Stanley sir. I think he asked me to continue the test. Something like that happened. I don't remember exactly, but I decided that the loading may continue. Contractor was hesitant to do that, but I suggested that the loading may continue, and they placed the next increment of load. The sliding was continuing, but at around 140 tons, after placing 2 more increments, the settlement stabilized. No more settlement. The pile started taking load. So what happened? What would have been a problem? And I'll tell you the whole story. And the pile started taking loading, so entire load we could place. Thereafter, settlement was minimal, so entire load we could place, no issues. And then we unloaded it, and found out the net settlement order next day. So we found out that the elastic rebound was quite high, a lot of elastic rebound, which means that your bearing stratum is still in the elastic condition, which means that the bearing stratum has not failed. So the rebound indicates the health condition of your bearing stratum. If there is sufficient rebound, that means that your bearing stratum has not failed. So what went wrong? So we started exploring, thinking. We investigated all the field records, and we found out that as per the code, the density of bentonite drilling mud which is used while piling in sand, that should be maintained around 1.1, 1.12 or so, as per the IS code 2911 part 1 section 2. So that particular density was recorded as 1.2, which is quite high. At a density of 1.2, the debris as well as the bentonite will settle at the bottom of the borehole. If you don't maintain the density at the right point, if the density is low, there will be site collapse. If the density is high, the clay plus debris will settle at the base. Okay, so what happens? There will be failure. The pile will be sitting there. Since there is a collection of soft clay and debris at the base, the pile is going to sit on top of this debris, and the pile is not going to take load. Okay, so that was what was happening in this place, and that was properly found out by by all of us, and we decided that let us run one more pile load test, and the pile should be installed properly. These are all initial tests conducted on test piles. So let us install another pile and test it to the ultimate load. And we did that, and we found out that the pile fabulously took load, and it could very well sustain the load. We could even load more, provided our Kentledge and gravity loading was sufficient. So it was performing well, and there was sufficient elastic rebound. So the problem was with the field procedure of maintaining the density of drilling mud. You have to have a hydrometer at the site and measure the density of the bentonite drilling mud at the site properly. And thereafterwards, I started adding some more clauses for maintaining the drilling mud and how the settling tank has to be maintained. So all these things we have added in our subsequent reports. That is also a lesson for us. We also learn lessons, and we also learn how to manage contractors, how they try to trap you. So those things were there also. That is their way of approach. Contractors are like that. So that is a story about the pilot test failure at Manipur. I forgot to tell you that it's an area where sand can be clean sand can be met up to 50 meters, except for the thick clay layer. So this is a sinkhole. Sinkhole. This is taken from Guatemala. You can see a circular portion suddenly caved in. There are buildings close to that. What is the circular failure? Actually, you can see some limestone layers also. These limestone layers are years of leaching because of change in land use pattern and the ingress of chemicals. These limestones will gradually lose strength. Limestone is very sensitive to chemicals. If you take a small piece of limestone and add some droplets of hydrochloric acid, you will see an effervescent reaction. Suddenly, you won't see that stone. Otherwise, limestone is a stone, and it can be cut using only diamond bit. But if a drop of hydrochloric acid falls on that, the entire limestone may be damaged and dissolved into the hydrochloric acid. So these are depressions or holes in land surface. They can be shallow, deep, small, or large. They can be cavities, voids, solution channels, or caverns in limestone. In Kerala, we obtained encountered limestones in Cochin region. Sorry, not in Cochin region, in Kollam region, below around 18 meter depth around the Ashramudi. These are the problems. Solution. So this gets limestone gets dissolved in certain media. So while working with structures in Kollam, we find that it's very difficult to do even exploration because of the presence of these layers of limestones. We have one layer of limestone, and below that there is a clay layer, and then there is another layer of limestone, and cavities also exist below these limestone layers. And when we drill using bentonite drilling mud, it is possible to do a diamond coring in the first limestone layer. That is possible. But when we do that and come to the end of that sheet of limestone, to the next layer, which in all its probability will be a clay layer or a cavity. Most probably the cavities are existing below the ground surface. And when suddenly when the drill bit meets a cavity, the entire drilling fluid that you are circulating that is lost into that pit. Whatever drilling fluid that you are using, that is lost into that pit. So what happens in that process? It will try to pull down debris. Debris also will be pulled down, and that will clog the borehole, and it may be difficult for you to remove the drill rods. I have lost drill rods of 40 meters in this way in Kollam. So it's a treacherous area. So drilling is very difficult. It is very difficult for us to satisfactorily take a borehole. Normally people take borehole up to 17 meters, which is not sufficient for tall buildings. And as I heard, these are rumors, I'm not sure about the reality. Several bridges had to be constructed as a part of Kollam bypass, and the work was done by L&T, and they explored up to 150 meters, and still they could not find hard rock. So that is a scenario. So limestone is a tricky type of material. It's useful also in some way, but at times, if you are planning to construct very tall structures, these limestones are going to cause a problem. The reasons we have already discussed. This is another failure of a reinforced soil structure. This is a relatively new technique. Reinforced soil technique was known to our ancestors also, but it was given a scientific basis and design patent by Henry Vidal in 64 or so, and later on he patented the technique, and there's a company by him called Reinforced Earth, which has got representation in India also. Now this is the reinforced soil construction. You can see the reinforcements of different colors and also fill soil in layers. So this was kept and compacted, but the facing elements got removed. The connection, you can see some of the facing elements at the bottom. You can see 3 facing elements kept at the base, at the top. These are connected to the reinforcement using some connection mechanism. Previously, that used to be Botkin joint. Nowadays, people don't use Botkin joint. Some other type of joints you can use, or friction transfer is also sufficient overlap is there. Friction transfer is also possible, which is the best way. So there is a failure for connection. So connection has to be designed properly. The lesson to be learned here is the design of connections. Everything may be perfect. Remember the Nicole Highway failure. Everything was perfect, but unfortunately, the uh, the uh, the the connection failed. But here also there is a failure of connection. You can see reinforcement is okay. The facing elements are not supposed to take any load, so they are designed as thin panels. So what happened? It is a connection that failed. Another place where the connection failed, you can see the panels, and also panels were here also. Here they are using strip reinforcement, and the strip reinforcement is perfectly already, especially if it is steel, there won't be any failure in the reinforcement. Reinforcement fails in two ways. One is through slip, the other is through breakage. Now, in this particular photograph, you can see that there is no breakage for the reinforcement, but it is a facing element that got detached from the field, and that is also probably because of the connection failure. You can see a close-up view of this. You can see the connection here and the connection here. Some of the panels are remaining. A gap was developed probably because of the rain. Gullies might have formed. So this is the scenario inside. So if you are designing a reinforced soil wall, make sure that you are also somehow controlling the ingress of surface water into the reinforced soil slope. Any slope, try to collect water and dispose of without allowing it to seep through the slope. So that will help you a lot. Another view of a failure of a reinforced soil structure. Reinforced soil has to be designed for internal stability and external stability. That will be taught in any reinforced soil structure classes. So you can see some of the gully formations in an embankment, earth embankment, and separation from the remaining portions. Probably this is all because of the improper design of probably in the investigation also. Here, a failed portion is now retrofitted with soil nails. You can see number of nails. The entire portion failed. This is a bridge abutment possibly. You have a 90-degree joint in reinforced soil structure. You can see here. So the entire portion failed and it was retrofitted with soil nailing. The success of this is dependent on the degree of compaction, because the selection of fill material is very, very important. Very important. If the fill material is not proper, and if you are unable to maintain its moisture content, then you won't be able to compact it properly. If it is not compacted properly, definitely this is going to fail at some point of time. And once it fails, if the infill is not strong enough, you won't be able to use soil nail for stabilizing this. Another slope which was nail wall, which was stabilized by soil nailing. This is another very famous documented. I won't say it is documented. These are all brought outside China. This happened in China. These are all brought outside China by some bloggers. Because when something happens in China, there is a secrecy surrounding China, and nothing is available outside. No information is available outside. This is a building, tall building. You are seeing the top portion closer to the frame. The building has fallen down. The structure is almost intact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 floor structure. Maybe because 13 is a separate number. I don't know. So this is a building that has collapsed. You can see similar buildings situated. Probably a real estate developer was constructing so many apartments and trying to sell it. And here you can see the pile foundation. The foundation, I do not know what type of foundation it is. For such a 13-story building, some small finger-like structures, we don't see a proper pile cap. We don't see a proper pile group. But some slender members are seen here. And this is a close-up view. I don't see any reinforcement at all. There are no reinforcements. And it has failed. So what kind of foundation it is, we do not know. Some kind of, people have different theories. Those days in social media was rife with speculations, and some people said that it is a spun pipe foundation. I doubt that, because I find that this concrete aggregate is visible. This is some kind of concrete pipe, and sufficient foundation is not given for this building. That is what I feel. And this is the official explanation. All this happened because of an excavation which was taken in the front portion. There is a possibility because of the excavation, the soil may be subjected to movement, and when soil is subjected to movement, a failure can take place. So that is the reason. And the excavated soil was dumped at the back side, so that will act as an actuating force which will initiate the slab failure. That may be a reason, but we don't have photographs of the portion inside this, whether there was a heave, what was the way in which soil moved out. So this is the official explanation. This was what happened. There's a possibility, provided the foundation was strong. There's a possibility also. So these are some of the failures. Smaller and smaller failures are also noticed in and around us. This is a house which was constructed very close to my residence, on the shores of a small stream called the Kannamula Court. The entire building is intact. There are no cracks. You can see some cables and other things. Other than that, there are no cracks. But it got tilted like a boat to one corner. They can open the windows now. If they open the window, there is no control for them. It will open for 180 degrees, and it will be very difficult for them to close it. They were still living there. And I happened to meet a neighbor, and he said, "No, we have put so much of steel and concrete into the plinth beam, but still it failed." I said, "That is the reason why your structure is not having any crack. You have a strong structure but a weak foundation." Okay. And I did my investigation in the adjacent property for another building, and I found out that up to around 14 meters, sand is not available. The penetration distance value is almost 0. At around 15 meter, you get some sand, but the strength of sand is not sufficient. Sand is loose. The penetration distance value is reducing even after encountering the sand layer. So I suggested that we can go in for consolidation and improvement of strength, and finally we can support the building on the improved ground. But the owner was not ready to do that, so he went in for another site and constructed his house there. This is another view of the same building. Another housing colony in Tiruvalla, where almost all buildings they got tilted towards the back side. There is a canal here, and also you can see agricultural paddy field here, and an elevated land there. So here also I was fortunate to conduct an investigation in the front portion. We explored up to 18 meters, and we found out a lot of organic content. In this region. And in Kerala, organic content is a common phenomenon. In many places you see organic content. At Varkala, around 45 meters depth, we could find timber logs. Then in another place in Kayankulam, the entire Onatugara Kuttanad region, it is considered as the place mentioned in Mahabharata as Khandaprastha. Khandaprastha is a place where a giant fire broke out. There is a story attached to that, but partly history is also readable from these books. So a fire broke out, and that engulfed a huge forest in Khandaprastha. And for this reason, the timber logs that you obtain below the ground surface, they are charred, half burnt, and they call it as Kandamaram. Kandamaram is something related to Khandaprastha because it happened in a place called Khandaprastha. And I am witness to one excavation that happened in Bangalore region. We were doing some consultancy works for the Kerala Land Development Corporation. We were visiting different agricultural fields and examining the quality of the works done. And at Kayankulam, we went to one site, and we were constructing. The government was giving enough funds to NABARD to construct retaining wall all around paddy fields and then construct bunds so that they can have 3 crops in the paddy field. But the owner, those days agriculture was not a profitable business, but now it is not so because of the increase in price in food grains. Agriculture is profitable these days, and also because of the construction equipment that can be used. Agriculture is relatively profitable. Those days it was not so. So the owner was smart enough. He was selling the surface soil for a clay factory, tile factory. So they had removed almost 90-95% of the overburden, and a loader excavator was still working there. And we found out that the entire region entire excavated portion was filled with burned trees. Having gut size, I'm sure that is more than 50-60 centimeters. Minimum diameter of any timber log is more than 50 centimeters or so. So if that is a paddy. Otherwise, it is a paddy field. There is no sign of any tree anywhere there. It's a paddy field. It's a valley between some elevated regions. Other than that, there is not even a sign of a single tree. But you can see number of trees lying crisscross, and we do not know. Maybe below that also there are half-burnt trees. So the story may be partially correct, and probably that is the reason why we call these timber logs as Kandamaram, belonging to Khandaprastha. So if you go to Vaikam also, they call the paddy fields as Kari land or coal fields, not because some coal is being mined, because you find so much of organic content. Chips of burnt timber you obtain in most of the paddy fields. So they call it coal fields or Kari land. The name of the project itself was Vaikam Kari Land Project, in which I worked. So same was obtained on the front side of this site, which comprised of a lot of organic content up to 18 meters, and probably because of that the tilting has happened. On the back side the water content will be much more. When water content is more, the word ratio is more, the soil is more compressible. That could be the reason. So this will finally happen. What will finally happen when your small houses get tilted? People will come. This is a party from Rajasthan. They were in I took this photograph in a place called Karikal in near Tiruvalla, Upper Kuttanad region. A house was sunk uniformly into the ground. It was uniform settlement. House was sunk into the ground. There was no tilting at all. It was a single-story building, but that sunk into the ground over years because of consolidation settlement. And these people came and they started lifting the house. So this is the way they lift the house. Now this practice is there all over Kerala. Local people have specialized in this. Okay, so this happened. I can keep on talking about several of these failures and then remedial measures. Probably, I'll take some questions now. And then try to conclude this session.
Dear participants, you can now interact with Unnikrishnan sir. You can ask questions. Or if you want, you can type in the chat box.
Well, if there are no questions, then we can stop it here.
I think there are no questions, sir.
Okay. So it was nice delivering this lecture. And thank you so much for inviting me for this FDP. I hope that you have enjoyed. At least those who attended properly would have enjoyed this ideas and challenges. I look forward for more opportunities in future also for interacting with St. Gates College of Engineering. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear sir, for spending your valuable time for us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.